March 9, 1945. Just after sunset. Over the black waters of the Pacific, the air begins to vibrate. You can't see them yet, but you can hear them, a distant, steady thunder rolling in from the east. Not the sharp crack of artillery, not the whine of fighters. This is heavier, slower, relentless. Inside Tokyo, the city is settling into the routine of war. Lights are already dimmed. Wooden homes creak as families prepare for another cold night. Many have stopped running to shelters when the sirens sound. The Americans have been bombing Japan for months now, but from high altitude. Scattered, imprecise, loud, yes, but survivable. Japanese commanders believe they understand the threat. High above the city, nearly 2 miles up, American bombers usually fly where flak is thin and fighters struggle to reach. The B-29 Superfortress is enormous, expensive, and temperamental. To Japanese planners, it seems like a weapon designed by committee, powerful on paper, but impractical in reality. Too complex, too fragile, too dependent on perfect conditions. They believe weather will protect them. Jet stream winds scatter bombs. Engines overheat. Maintenance crews struggle to keep the aircraft flying from distant island bases. Tokyo has been hit before, but never broken. Tonight feels no different. Then, something changes. At 5,000 feet, the bombers level off. No one in Tokyo has ever seen this before. The aircraft are flying impossibly low, beneath radar coverage, beneath the altitude Japanese defenses were built to fight. There are no tight combat boxes, no glittering formations. The bombers arrive in loose streams, their engines throttled back, their guns stripped away to carry more payload. Inside the lead aircraft, a man stares down at the city through his bombardier's window. Major General Curtis LeMay is not in this plane, but this is his plan. Brutally simple. No elegance. No romance. Just results. He has made a decision few American commanders would dare suggest. Abandon precision bombing entirely. No more factories. No more altitude. No more pretending this is a clean war. Tokyo is not steel and concrete. Tokyo is paper, wood, and cloth. The bomb bay doors open. The first weapons fall not as explosions, but as sparks. M69 incendiaries tumble toward the city. Small, finned canisters designed to burst on impact, spraying gelid gasoline in every direction. They land on rooftops, in alleyways, inside homes. Fire blossoms. At first, it looks manageable. Individual blazes flare across neighborhoods. Fire crews rush in, pulling hoses through narrow streets. Buckets are passed hand to hand. This has happened before. Then the wind arrives. The fires begin to talk to each other. Flames leap from house to house, block to block, feeding on tatami mats, wooden beams, paper walls. Oxygen rushes in. Heat rises. Streets become chimneys. The temperature climbs so fast that asphalt softens beneath fleeing feet. Above the city, more bombers arrive. And more. And more. There is no pause. No relief. Japanese anti-aircraft guns open fire, but the bombers are too low, too spread out. Fighters scramble, but chaos rules the sky. Smoke blinds pilots. Heat turbulence tosses planes like toys. On the ground, something unimaginable is forming. A firestorm. Air is sucked inward with hurricane force. People are knocked off their feet, dragged toward walls of flame. Shelters become ovens. Rivers fill with bodies as civilians leap into the water, only to boil alive as burning debris rains down. Entire districts vanish in minutes. In command bunkers, Japanese officers stare at maps that no longer make sense. Reports pour in, all the same. Fires beyond control. Communications gone. Units missing. This was not supposed to happen. The B-29 Superfortress was meant to be a high-altitude nuisance. A psychological weapon. Not this. Never this. By midnight, Tokyo is visible from over 200 miles away, a red wound on the surface of the earth. By dawn, more than 100,000 people are dead. 16 square miles of the city are ash. And somewhere in the Japanese high command, an unspoken realization begins to form. Slow, sickening, undeniable. They were wrong. About the bomber. About the Americans. About how this war would end. And as the smoke rises over Tokyo, the question is no longer if the city can survive the next raid, but whether Japan itself can survive what comes next. Morning comes slowly over Tokyo. The sun rises into smoke so thick it turns daylight a sickly orange. What was once a living city is now a charred grid of foundations and twisted metal. Streets no longer have names. Neighborhoods no longer exist. Only heat, embers, and silence broken by distant cries. Japanese officers move through the ruins with handkerchiefs pressed to their faces. Their boots crunch over glass and bone. Some stop walking altogether, unable to process what they're seeing. Others stare too long, as if their eyes might eventually make sense of it. This was not an air raid. This was annihilation. By mid-morning, casualty estimates begin to circulate, first in whispers, then in hard numbers. Tens of thousands dead. Then more. Hospitals are gone. Fire brigades erased. Entire wards burned so completely that there are no bodies left to count. In the Imperial General Headquarters, the tone is no longer defiant. It is stunned. For months, Japanese planners had convinced themselves the American bomber force was inefficient. The B-29 Superfortress was supposed to be a technological overreach, too large, too complex, plagued by engine fires and maintenance failures. High-altitude bombing over Japan had produced scattered damage and tolerable losses. This new approach rewrites every assumption. The Americans did not outfly Japanese defenses. They went under them. Reports confirm what commanders fear most. The bombers flew low, ignored precision entirely, and turned the city itself into a weapon. Wooden construction. Narrow streets. Winter winds. Everything Japan built to survive earthquakes became fuel. And the man responsible is not subtle about his intentions. Major General Curtis LeMay reviews photographs with cold satisfaction. Blackened city blocks stretch to the horizon. He knows exactly what this means, not just tactically, but psychologically. High-altitude bombing required weather, luck, and time. Fire does not. LeMay issues new orders. More cities. Same method. Incendiaries first. Explosives only to break water mains and trap firefighters. The objective is no longer industry alone. It is will. Inside Japan, the realization spreads faster than the fires ever could. If Tokyo can burn, so can Nagoya, Osaka, Kobe, Yokohama. Civil defense drills quietly stop. Sirens lose their meaning. Civilians begin sleeping in fields, in temples, anywhere not made of wood. Some families dismantle their own homes, trying to create firebreaks with their bare hands. It doesn't matter. On March 11th, Nagoya burns. On March 13th, Osaka follows. On March 16th, Kobe disappears into flame. Each raid follows the same pattern. Low altitude. Night. Fire first. Always fire. Japanese fighter pilots report they cannot climb fast enough. Radar operators complain of cluttered screens and blind zones. Anti-aircraft gunners fire until barrels glow, only to watch bombers slip past below optimal range. The B-29 Superfortress is no longer a distant speck in the stratosphere. It is a predator flying just above the rooftops. For the first time, imperial planners confront a terrifying truth. Japan has no answer to this weapon. Not now. Not in 6 months. Not ever. The air war has been lost. And yet, the worst part is not the destruction. It is the math. Every raid proves that American production can replace losses instantly. Planes lost one night are replaced by 3 the next. Crews rotate. Bases expand. Fuel flows freely. The Americans are not exhausting themselves. They are warming up. A junior staff officer dares to say it aloud during a late-night briefing. If the bombing continues at this rate, Japan's cities will be erased faster than they can be evacuated. Faster than they can be rebuilt. Faster than the army can replace civilian labor. No one argues, because everyone in the room already knows. Somewhere deep in the command structure, a line is crossed. Not publicly, not officially, but internally. The belief that Japan can endure strategic bombing, the faith that civilians can absorb punishment until victory arrives, collapses. And in that collapse, another fear emerges. If the Americans are willing to burn cities like this, what else are they willing to use? Because Tokyo was not a one-time experiment. It was a demonstration. And as the smoke from March settles over Japan, a darker possibility begins to haunt the highest levels of command. That fire may not be the final weapon waiting in the American arsenal. April 1945. The nights no longer feel like nights in Japan. They feel like countdowns. Across the home islands, people listen to the sky instead of the radio. The distant hum of engines has become the most feared sound in the country. Not sudden. Not violent at first. Just steady. Approaching. Inevitable. Inside Japanese command centers, the tone has shifted from outrage to desperation. Meetings stretch into the early hours. Charts are unrolled, rolled back up, then unrolled again. Radar coverage maps are marked and remarked. Fighter deployment schedules are rewritten, only to be crossed out when fuel shortages make them impossible. The truth presses in from every side. There is no effective defense against the B-29 Superfortress at low altitude. Japanese interceptors were designed to climb, to fight above the clouds. At 5,000 feet, they arrive late, if at all. Even when they do, American escort tactics and sheer numbers overwhelm them. Pilots report entire sections wiped out before they can even line up a shot. Anti-aircraft gunners fare no better. Their weapons were calibrated for height, not speed skimming rooftops. Fuses misjudged distances. Shells burst harmlessly behind their targets. Ammunition stocks vanish faster than they can be replaced. And then there is the fire. Every raid teaches the same lesson. Once the flames start, stopping them is impossible. Water mains rupture. Fire breaks fail. Wind does the rest. In one after-action report, an officer writes a single sentence that circulates quietly through the ranks. Civil defense is no longer meaningful. That sentence terrifies more than any casualty figure, because it means the state can no longer protect its people. Major General Curtis LeMay understands exactly what this pressure does. He is not trying to terrorize Japan into surrender overnight. He is grinding it down, night by night, city by city, making survival itself feel temporary. American crews feel it too. Pilots describe the smell before they reach the target. Smoke carried hundreds of miles out to sea. Navigators talk about using burning cities as visual checkpoints. Gunners, many stripped from their positions to save weight, watch flames rise past their aircraft as if the ground itself is chasing them. Some crews struggle with what they're doing. Others don't. They have seen Pearl Harbor, Bataan, Iwo Jima, Okinawa. They tell themselves this is the fastest way to end the war. Back in Japan, Evacuation becomes mass flight. Millions leave the cities. Children are sent to the countryside. Entire neighborhoods empty overnight. But industry cannot move that fast. Transportation collapses. Food distribution breaks down. Workers vanish from factories that haven't yet been hit. And still the bombers come. By May, Tokyo has burned again. And again. Each raid smaller than March, but no less devastating. What remains is methodically erased. Japanese leaders argue behind closed doors. Some demand new tactics. Others cling to the hope of inflicting catastrophic casualties during an Allied invasion. But even that plan depends on something they no longer control. Time. Every burned city shortens it. Every night raid proves the Americans can choose when and where Japan suffers. There is no sanctuary left on the map. Then, in late spring, intelligence reports arrive that deepen the unease. New American bases are expanding. Runways lengthened. Logistics increased. Bomber numbers rising, not falling. And there are whispers, vague, unsettling, about a different kind of weapon under development. Something that would make firebombing look almost restrained. No details. No confirmation. Just fear. Because if the Americans have already shown they are willing to burn entire cities to ash, what moral line is left uncrossed? In quiet moments, some officers stare at photographs of Tokyo taken after March 9th. They see not just destruction, but a future that feels unavoidable. A nation being dismantled piece by piece, from the air, with no way to strike back. The realization is complete now. The B-29 was never overrated. It was misunderstood. And Japan's greatest mistake was believing it would never be used like this. As summer approaches, the bombers continue to arrive. But behind them, something even more final is moving into position. July 1945. The fires still burn, but they no longer shock anyone. By now, destruction has become routine. Another city erased. Another night of flames. Another morning of ash drifting through the air like gray snow. Japan is running out of words to describe what is happening to it. Inside the highest levels of government, the conversations have narrowed to a single question. How does this end? The air campaign has done what blockade and battle could not. Rail networks are shattered. Factories stand empty even when untouched by bombs. Their workers gone, their power unreliable, their supply chains broken. Food shortages creep from rumor to reality. Malnutrition spreads silently, especially among children and the elderly. And above it all, the bombers remain untouchable. The B-29 Superfortress flies whenever it wants, wherever it wants. Japan's skies are no longer contested, they are occupied. What terrifies Japanese planners most is not just the damage already done. It is the certainty that it can continue indefinitely. American production has not slowed. New crews arrive faster than old ones rotate home. Airfields in the Marianas hum day and night. There is no sign of exhaustion, no sign of hesitation. The mockery is long gone now. What remains is something colder. Understanding. The assumption that American bombing would be restrained. Wrong. The belief that civilian endurance could compensate for military weakness. Wrong. The confidence that technology alone could not decide the war. Wrong. Firebombing has stripped away every illusion. And then, on August 6th, the sky delivers something new. Hiroshima vanishes in a single flash. 3 days later, Nagasaki follows. For many Japanese leaders, the atomic bomb does not introduce a new fear, it confirms an old one. The same logic that burned Tokyo has simply found a faster, more absolute form. There is no confusion now. No debate about endurance. No fantasy of reversal. Only arithmetic. How many cities remain? How many nights until they are gone? How many people must die before there is nothing left to defend? When Emperor Hirohito finally speaks, His words are measured, formal, restrained. But behind them lies the unspoken truth every commander already knows. Japan did not lose the war in one battle. It lost it the night Tokyo burned. That was the moment the balance shifted beyond recovery. When mockery turned into dread. When a weapon dismissed as impractical revealed its true purpose. The B-29 was never just a bomber. It was a message. And by the time Japan fully understood it, the message had already been delivered in fire, smoke, and silence.